Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is Dynamos Dozen, the pro wrestling podcast that we bring you each and every week on Dynamos Dozen out there on YouTube. So if you could smash that subscribe and bell notification button, and of course drop a like on the videos if you're enjoying the content. Always let us know your thoughts down in the comments. 3 weeks into 2023, we should be getting really excited about the Rumble. We got the Raw 30th anniversary coming up. Lots of real good stuff happening in wrestling. The return of the Mac. Vinnie Mac is back with a bang. God knows what that's going to mean. Um, but we're bringing this podcast tonight with a little bit of sadness. Anyone who watches the podcast or has dropped into the shop would know that I'm a huge fan of Ring of Honor Wrestling. I absolutely loved it and adored it throughout the years. Followed it since 2002. Proud to say I was the first retailer in Europe to stock Ring of Honor merchandise, both DVDs and clothing and all that. I'm very proud to say that I did that as well and brought Ring of Honor and Ring of Honor Wrestling. I brought hopefully to the minds of Irish wrestling fans and stuff like that when they came in and dropped into me. Many a time I would turn around and say, look, Ring of Honor is absolutely fantastic. Try one. There's a DVD. Try it if you like it. Good. If you don't, bring it back. But they never brought them back. They were always sensational. And when you think about the wrestlers that they produce and stuff like that, CM Punk, AJ Styles, to name but a few, Joe, Brian Danielson, so many wrestlers. Seth Rollins, originally Tyler Black and stuff like that. But the sad news reached us um this morning. I got the sad news. It was 5:30, I think, American time yesterday. When unfortunately we lost one half of the Briscoe brothers, Jay Briscoe. And this hit kind of hard, really, really hard. 3 weeks into the new year. Um, the news coming out was that he was involved in a car crash and he lost his life, and that his young daughter was with him. They were coming back, I think, from a cheerleading practice or competition or something like that. Gorgeous little girl, and she's in critical condition, I heard. And I heard that the woman in the other car has lost her life as well. So sadly, two people have lost their life, and one child is in critical condition. And it really rings home when we talk about, cherish the time you have with your family and your friends and your kids and all that kind of stuff, because life is really, really short. I'm sure no less than 4 weeks ago, he was celebrating Christmas with his daughter and, loving life and all that kind of stuff. And here we are today. He's lost his life. His daughter's in critical condition. A woman has lost her life. And so many people's worlds have been turned upside down because of this. And it's amazing because, when you think of the Briscoe brothers and stuff like that, when I think of them, the fabulous matches that they had and the tag team matches that they had. And look, I could talk about their opponents here all night. I could talk about the Briscoe brothers for hours and hours and hours, Mark and Jay. I could talk about how they connected with their audience. I could talk about how their promos were real and grimy and, from the heart and stuff like that. And, talking about connecting with your audience. A lot of fantastic wrestlers have gone by the wayside because they couldn't find a way to connect with their audience. But these two boys, them boys, found a way and a niche to connect with their audience that made them beloved by the wrestling community. They were a bit out there, and that's kind of why we loved them. And our thoughts and prayers obviously go out to Mark and the extended family of everyone who was involved and anyone who's connected with the tragedy, and also the larger pro wrestling community out there as well. We have lost a fabulous performer. We have lost an outstanding wrestler. Um, and I can't imagine what it's like to be Mark at the moment because, himself or Mark have just been together for, you know, apart from being brothers, they've been road brothers, they've been opponents, they've been tag partners, they've experienced so much life together from the high end of Ring of Honor. They went into Impact Wrestling, New Japan. They did everything together and they were literally joined at the hip. Um, and always looked out for each other. And they brought, sometimes when we talk about, wrestling at its most successful is when it feels real, when it connects with society and what's going on and feels real. And boy, did these guys knock it out of the park when they did that. They made it feel so real. Every storyline felt like the world was at stake. The promos that they put together, the vignettes that they put together, made us laugh, made us cry, made us believe. And these two guys, they were just as real as it could get to steal a pun from the UFC. These guys exactly lived what they were. And it's really, really sad that we have lost this guy, you know. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more later on in the show. We'll have a chat about some of the tweets that went out and stuff like that. And we'll kind of end the show with Jay Briscoe as well, because I think that would be a fitting tribute to him as well, that we start the show and also that we end the show with Jay Briscoe. And I would encourage anyone out there, I know a lot of our subscribers and stuff like that are purely WWE fans, and a lot of them might be, a lot of you guys out there and girls might be just AEW and the indie scene and stuff like that and all, and that's fine, whatever floats your boat in terms of what you love about pro wrestling. But I would encourage you to go and look as a mark of respect. Go and have a look at some of Jay Briscoe's matches and some of those Ring of Honor matches. He was Mr. Ring of Honor. And between the two of them, they presented an absolute fabulous product in terms of what they did. And it'll be a while before this sinks in. It's a tough one. And it'll be really, really strange. I mean, my thoughts really go out to everyone, but especially Mark. Like, I can't imagine right now what Mark is going through. It must be horrific. And I hope people are over there looking after him and everything and all, you know, because it's a real, real, real tragedy. Right, park that for the moment. It was a tough day going through this, you know. Well, let's talk then. I mean, we have an action-packed show. As you can see, I'm flying solo. Ian isn't here tonight. He's caught up in work and stuff like that. Ian's in between switching jobs and stuff like that, and he's finishing off a lot of stuff for the current position he's in. So he will be back next week, of course. Check out later on as well on the Chelsea Raw. We will be doing a preview for the Liverpool Chelsea game at the weekend. If football is your thing, check that out. That'll be going up soon as well on the Chelsea Raw. We'll be recording that later. But for now, it's all pro wrestling and a little bit of MMA as well that we're going to bring you each week as well. But we'll start with some of the news that's out there. Of course, it's Rumble season. And when we think about Rumble season, of course, we think about the gold standard, Shelton Benjamin, celebrating 20 years in WWE. Every time I announce these things, I just feel older and older and older. You look at Shelton Benjamin, and unlike me, Shelton Benjamin is aging like a fine wine. He looks absolutely fantastic, really looks after himself. And when we think about Shelton Benjamin and Shelton's mama, the gold standard, Team Angle, all that kind of stuff, absolutely electric. And some of the stuff he did with Charlie Haas, some of the moments he gave us in those Money in the Bank matches and stuff like that. But 20 years of Shelton Benjamin, WWE is celebrating this week. And hats off and shout out to Shelton Benjamin. Absolutely classic wrestler. Really loved his time in there. But when we think about the Royal Rumble, we cannot think about the Royal Rumble unless we think about Braun Strowman. And he was recalling this week, of course, the uppercut from hell that he took from Brock Lesnar in that match. And it was a scary one as well, because he came in, he hit Brock with a heavy knee, kind of to the side of the head and the temple. And Brock was having none of that. And you're saying Brock hit him with an uppercut, and the uppercut hit him and it shook him. And Braun Strowman was shaking in the ring, his legs and all were going and stuff like that. And I heard Brock screaming at him, and I'll take it easy and all this kind of thing. And it was a crazy moment in the Rumble. But hats off to Braun Strowman. He was talking about it and saying how like he's one of few guys that was able to take an uppercut off Brock as well. And I dare say, yeah, there was some banter afterwards and stuff like that. But he came in all energetic, hit him with a hard knee to the head or something like that, nearly knocked Brock out, and then Brock just uppercutted him and sent him flying, kind of. But yeah, good to see him recalling. That's a bit of fun for the Royal Rumble. We will be doing a preview, of course, dedicating a show to the preview for the Royal Rumble and stuff like that. We'll also give our reaction to the Raw 30 that's coming up. I would preface this by saying we do have a thumbnail up there as well. I would not recommend going to Google and searching Raw XXX. Just putting that out there in case any of our younger viewers think that might be the thing to do. That is not the thing to do. Let's talk about some big names announced for the Raw 30th special. The Undertaker, of course, the dead man. How could you do it without him being there? Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Ron Simmons, damn, will be there. Shawn, X-Pac Waltman, Teddy Long, player, will be there. Jerry the King Lawler, Kurt Angle. The Road Dog, Senior Vice President of Live Events, the Road Dog, Brian James, will be there, of course. Senior Vice President of Talent Development, Shawn Michaels. God, these guys have serious corporate names now, don't they? When we think about DX and stuff like that. Senior Vice President of Live Events and Senior Vice President of Talent Development, Shawn Michaels. Love it. And the Bella Twins, of course, will be there as well. And of course, they've already announced Hall of Famer Kane, the Big Red Machine, and also WWE legend Tatanka. They've all been announced for Raw 30th so far, and I'm sure there'll be a whole plethora of other talent that's going to be there as well. Absolutely no doubt about it. What else are we going to talk about? The Royal Rumble card got updated this week as well. The 30-man Royal Rumble. WWE United States Champion Austin Theory is in there. Intercontinental Champion Gunther is in there. What a match he put on when we were on Clash of the Castle. They absolutely battered each other, him and Sheamus. Looking forward to seeing him in the Rumble. NXT Tag Team Champion Kofi Kingston. Ricochet. Seth Rollins. Thank God Seth Rollins back. It looks like the knee is okay. That's what we wanted to hear. Bobby Lashley will be in there. Baron Corbin will be in there. Santos Escobar. Rey Mysterio. Plenty of history and plenty of experience there. Rey Mysterio in the Royal Rumble. The return of the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, will be there, and 20 more to be announced. I'm not sure if any more have been announced when doing this video, but that's where it was at. And we get the 30-woman Royal Rumble as well. Rhea Ripley is in there representing the Judgment Day. Candice LeRae back, Johnny Gargano's beautiful wife. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and 26 more. Of course, both winners earn a title shot at WrestleMania 39 coming to you from the Sophie Stadium, as far as I know, in Los Angeles. It's going to be a magnificent event. Stadium looks unbelievable. We're getting an undisputed WWE Universal title match. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. This is going to be excellent. And speaking of a guy who would also be, taken aback by obviously the passing of Jay Briscoe, Kevin Owens, absolutely. Fight, Steen, fight. Raw Women's title match as well announced. Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair. Looking forward to that one as well. And the pitch black match, Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. I was informed that this was in relation to a new drink releasing or something like that. So we're still getting a little bit of gimmicky stuff in there as well. Tony Schiavone was talking about Tully Blanchard again in AEW, and he was saying that he said he loved getting to work with Tully Blanchard again in AEW. It was fun for me being able to work with him again. I really enjoyed it, and I've always enjoyed working with Tully. He was, and as we have seen, as we have been watching over the years here on What Happened, here it was on What Happened When. He was a great talent. I get it. I get that some people want people to remember them as they used to be and not as they are now. He says Blanchard has an important job working at a prison. He says also he's got a very important job working in a prison, working with inmates, trying to get their lives back on track. Kudos to him for that. So I get it, and I wish him the best. It was great being able to work with him. Of course, everyone would know on this podcast, me being a huge fan of the Horseman, like a lot of our subscribers, Tully Blanchard was a big part of my childhood and stuff like that. Those TV title matches with J.D. Dillon and the man who made the springboard suplex cool back in the day, of course. So absolutely brilliant. In an appearance on the Going Broadway podcast, Medusa cropped up again. Medusa's doing lots of these podcasts at the moment, and fair play to her. She pitched for the Dangerous Alliance led by Paul Heyman, then known as Paulie Dangerously, of course. How could we forget that phone? To be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and what a lineup it would be. And this is actually a great shout. Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, and Larry Sabisco made up the group. What a collection of wrestlers out there. Unbelievable. Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, and Larry Sabisco, all being managed by Paul Heyman. Paulie Dangerously. Wow. Unbelievable. That'd be great to see them going in. It's a great show. Fair play to Medusa. Great show. Other news came out. Vince McMahon apparently now no longer needs WWE stockholder approval. Um, I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a dangerous thing. I don't really know what to think about it, really, but we shall see. And a little bit of MMA news, of course. Francis Ngannou, UFC heavyweight champion, has departed the company. They couldn't come to terms on a contract with the UFC. An interesting one, and the UFC kind of dropping a little bit of a smear campaign on him. They announced then John Jones versus Cyril Gane instead of Francis Ngannou, who was left. He was offered a huge money contract. I was listening to Michael Bisping today talking about it. He was offered a 3-fight deal, and it was 8 million a fight, so 24 million, so big bucks. But listening to the interview today with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, it was a special edition with Francis Ngannou, giving his side of the story and stuff like that. He was saying that he needed his freedom and stuff like that. He wanted to pursue a bit of boxing and stuff like that. The UFC didn't want to do that. Obviously the precedent was set with McGregor and stuff like that. But again, I suppose looking from the UFC's point of view, it'd be a big risk for them if he went into boxing and he fought Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or whoever it is. And he was to get beat up and stuff like that, it wouldn't reflect well on the UFC. He could also get injured and he might be out for 6 months or a year and stuff like that. And then it might reduce his stock as well. So then when he goes back into the UFC, if he's main eventing a card, if he's after taking a beating and boxing and stuff like that, would that reduce his draw value and interest in terms of pay-per-view and stuff like that? So the UFC kind of protecting itself a little bit, but he was talking about freedom and stuff like that and all, and he said it was really, really important to him. And this is a guy who, of course, grew up in Africa and stuff like that, and he came, like, he started out digging trenches and stuff like that and all, and he made his way all through Europe as he could, hadn't got a penny to his name, you've seen the story on there and stuff like that, how he rose and how he got to France and he was sleeping in you know stairwells and car parks and all sorts of stuff. Didn't know where the next meal was going to come from, near along where he was going to rest. He slept in forests under plastic sheets and all sorts of stuff. But he said the one thing throughout all that time was hope. He always had hope. Then when he got to France, he was put into the asylum system, and guards tried to break him and all to get him to admit to doing stuff in order to kill off his asylum seeking situation and all that kind of stuff. And then the talk was that, like, Dana the other day kind of alluded to the fact that, like, he didn't want to fight John Jones, that he was scared of John Jones or whatever it was. And I think when you look at this man's life and what he's gone through, and Ariel Helwani put it great yesterday, it was great start to the show and stuff. He said, why would this guy be in fear of John Jones? He's been chasing a John Jones fight for years. He's been tweeting John Jones all along, trying to draw John Jones out and stuff like that. Why would he be scared to fight John Jones? And it was interesting today on the interview. He said there was a 3-fight deal, and Ariel Helwani asked him who would be the 3 fights, and he said, well, obviously John Jones, and then I think he said Stipe. I think it was Stipe, yeah, and then he said John Jones again. So he really wanted to fight John Jones. He wasn't in fear of John Jones. If you look at this guy and what he's had to go through to get to where he got to, I wouldn't say he fears anything in life, but I think he just wanted to be in more control of his own destiny and stuff like that and all. And obviously that's difficult when you're big money contracts and you're in the prize fighting game. It's very difficult to do that unless you're like Floyd Mayweather and you're self-promoting and that kind of thing, the money team. But yeah, it was one of those things. It was an interesting one, but it left the UFC in a bit of a bind, of course, because now their heavyweight champion is gone. And I'm sure back and forth, I'm sure it's been a difficult relationship. I know it has. I know a number of times things have come up. They've been trying to negotiate this contract for 2 years, which is a long, long time for the UFC to be negotiating a contract. And they also didn't trigger the extra year. They could have triggered an extra year where if he gets an offer from somewhere else, they have an opportunity to match that to sign him for another year and stuff like that. Who knows? But a massive financial contract. They were going to make him the highest ever paid heavyweight in the business. Looking at 8 million a fight, 24 million for the contract. As a heavyweight, he might be able to blast out those 3 matches in a year, so he could have earned 24 million and then renegotiated up even higher if it went well. So it was a huge opportunity for him. but it was clear that money wasn't the issue because they threw the bank card at him basically, and he didn't take them up on it. But sad to see him go. Um, he's kind of been an unusual character in that he came in and he was an absolute killing machine, and the size of him and all, and those heavy hands and stuff like that, did really, really well, and then kind of stuttered a little bit and then came back in again. I think got an injury or two and stuff like that, if I can recall. But a fabulous athlete, and the background story alone sells itself. Like, this is without a doubt, an Amazon special or a Netflix show or dare I say, even a Hollywood movie. This guy literally came from the dirt and worked his way all up to the highest level as the heavyweight champion in the UFC. And it goes to show you, if you're determined and you're willing to put in the work, just imagine this guy and what he had to go through and the stuff that he's seen and the stuff that he had to endure, and then for UFC kind of on the way out to say, oh well, he feared John Jones, he didn't want to fight him and stuff like that. I wouldn't say Cyril. I wouldn't say Francis Ngannou feared anyone. But yeah, that's what happens sometimes when it goes out there. If your man is going to go off somewhere else, it's not unusual to do a little bit of a smear campaign and kind of devalue him and stuff like that. But they could have handled their business in a better way, and who knows down the road what might happen. There was a lot of stuff with Brock Lesnar in the past as well, and then it came back and it worked out well, and he made a lot of money off him and stuff like that. So it's not always great to dirty your bib on the way out. That's most of the news I wanted to cover there. So I wanted to cover now. We'll talk about the week in pro wrestling history, and what a week it was. We've got a number of ones here, some really good ones. We go back, start off at 1992. Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton, just talking about, hey, dangerous alliance, huh? Bobby Eaton defeated Dustin Rhodes and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to win the WCW World Tag Team Championships in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida, now the hub of independent wrestling, if you like. But yeah, that was 1992. 2005, Jeff Jarrett retained the NWA World Heavyweight title against Monty Brown in the main event of TNA Final Resolution in Orlando. Yeah, Monty Brown. Do you remember Monty Brown? What a talent he was, and what an athlete he was. Remember, he used to hit the pounce and that shoulder block off the ropes and stuff like that. He used to send guys into the third row. Phenomenal athlete, Monty Brown. Absolutely brilliant. 2006, Edge retained the WWE Championship against Ric Flair in a TLC match on an episode of WWE Raw from Raleigh in North Carolina. The Nature Boy versus Edge for the WWE Championship. 2006. 2009, Hardcore Holly was released from WWE after a 16-year stint with the company. 1991, Big Van Vader defeated Tatsumi Fujinami for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at New Japan's New Year Dash in Tokyo. And 2000, two lads that I really miss now that have also left us. Test defeated the Big Boss Man for the WWF Hardcore title on WWE Raw from New Haven in Connecticut. We're going to take it back a little bit here now. 1971. I wasn't even in existence. 1971, the longest WWF, then WWF Championship reign came to an end at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Ivan Koloff defeated Bruno Sammartino to end the champion's historic 2,803-day reign with the title. 3 weeks later, of course, he dropped the title to Pedro Morales. That's the history there. 1971, Bruno Sammartino. 2003, legendary wrestler the Sheik Edward George Farhat died of a heart attack aged 76. Farhat was the uncle of Sabu and was widely credited as the pioneer of the hardcore wrestling style. You would remember him well, you hardcore fans. 2002, the Phillips Arena, the famous Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, played host to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. The Rumble match itself was won by Triple H, eliminating Kurt Angle for the victory. Tough enough rookie, of course, though. Maven would be shockingly remembered for eliminating The Undertaker. I have to say, back then I was a big fan of Maven and stuff like that. I thought he was super cool, and I loved that whole Tough Enough series and stuff like that. It was really cool back then. Real big fan of Maven, fortunately. 1985, the US Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo defeated Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch. There's a team. Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch. There's vintage for you now. In Hartford, Connecticut, to win the WWF Tag Team Championships, the US Express. 1985, wrestler and promoter Eddie Graham sadly passed away at the age of 55. The cause of death was suicide. Famously remembered for running the Florida Territory. If you remember Eddie Graham, what a booker. 2008, Monday Night Raw on this date became the first WWE program to ever broadcast in high definition. So I always get a throwback in the shop when I talk to people about VHS and your VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, downloads, streaming, all this kind of stuff. And now we have 4K, 8K, whatever it is, ultra high definition, all this sort of stuff. But 2008, Monday Night Raw on this date became the first WWE program to ever broadcast in high definition. They haven't looked back since in terms of their content creation. That's it for this week in pro wrestling history. Little bit of a sprinkle there of Royal Rumble stuff and things like that, but other stuff that came in there as well that was linked into the news and stuff like that. We'll always finish out with some notable birthdays, and then we'll have a quick chat about Jay Briscoe at the end of the show, in tribute of the man. But notable birthdays this week: 1949, Sir Oliver Humberdick. How could we forget about him? 1985. Here's a sad one. This week, Mark Briscoe celebrates his birthday. So imagine celebrating your birthday on the week where you lose your brother. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. 1984, Dexter Loomis celebrates his birthday. And of course, the Machine Gun himself, 1980, Carl Anderson celebrates his birthday this week. Along with the Animal, 1969, Dave Batista celebrates his birthday. 1954, the $1 Million Man, everybody's got a price, Ted DiBiase's birthday. Maurice, the beautiful wife of The Miz, celebrates her birthday in 1983. I hope these female wrestlers don't mind me giving out the years and stuff like that, but maybe I should just cut their ones out. And of course, the man, the TV title man himself, Mr. Slingshot Suplex, we already spoke about him. Tully Blanchard, 1954, celebrates his birthday this week. Happy birthday to one and all. So let's talk about the man. Let's talk about Jay Briscoe. So many memories out there and stuff like that. But I just wanted to finish out the show with a number of tweets that came through and stuff like that from guys. Some guys who worked with him, some guys who didn't, but some guys who certainly recognized what he brought to the business and stuff like that. And I mean, the outpouring and the tributes for this man have been unbelievable. I'd say he's looking down now, wondering what all the fuss was. I don't think he realized himself the hearts and minds and stuff that he touched with the product that he delivered and the person that he was and how he presented himself and stuff like that. To the point where a small little wrestling shop in Stephen's Green in Dublin, when you think about where Ring of Honor was, wanted to stock their merchandise and their DVDs. Just goes to show you how big pro wrestling is and how it touches the minds and hearts of fans and people and all that kind of stuff. Before I get too emotional, but of course we'll start. The Game Triple H tweeted a real good tweet, and he said, an incredible performer who created a deep connection with wrestling fans. Just think about that, a deep connection with wrestling fans, the thing that a lot of wrestlers can't figure out. Got to make that connection with the fans. Across the globe, my condolences to the family and friends of Jay Briscoe. Lovely tweet there from the Game Triple H. Made that connection with fans across the globe. Sami Zayn, of course, who would have been around the Briscoes quite a bit and stuff like that in his previous guys in Ring of Honor. I don't have the words right now to properly convey my sorrow. I love Jay and Mark Briscoe, always have. I wouldn't be here without them. I'm very lucky to have shared the ring and shared so many laughs with Jay Briscoe, and I'm so sad to know neither will happen again. R.I.P. my friend. This has hit him hard. These are guys who spent a lot of time together and stuff. That Shawn Michaels, on behalf of at WWE NXT community, I would like to express our condolences to the Briscoe family for their loss. Absolutely, HBK. Cody Rhodes, I didn't interact much with him, but upon meeting Jay, I instantly understood something about him. His family was his everything. All the love in the world to them this evening. Nice little tweet there from Cody Rhodes. Nice to say, didn't have a huge amount of interaction with them, but could understand from meeting the guy and stuff like that. And you could see, I mean, the videos that are out there are heartbreaking of him. you know, such beautiful videos. He's practicing the cheerleading with the daughter and all, and it's like, you know, now suddenly their world has just been turned upside down and ripped apart. And it's such a dynamic for us as wrestling fans when we see Jay Briscoe, the wrestler and the performer, and him and Mark and all that other stuff and all, you know. Then all of a sudden you see a video and he's practicing cheerleading in the front room of his house with his daughter and stuff. It's such a dynamic pro wrestling, you know. But yet so sad. The Usos, R.I.P. to the homie Jay Briscoe. Condolences to your family. Rest in paradise, Uso. Ricochet, this is so sad. Ricochet hit fairly hard by it as well, like everyone. And Nadia, of course, said, my prayers are with Jay Briscoe and his family tonight. Absolutely, Nadia herself, after experiencing you know, the grief of losing her dad and all that kind of stuff. So she knows how difficult it is, like a lot of us. And Gunter, of course, tweeted, rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. Just a selection of tweets there and stuff like that. There has been thousands of tweets, millions of tweets even, no doubt. This man touched the whole wrestling community. The Briscoes were just, they were something out there themselves, weren't they? And I don't know what's going to happen now with Mark and stuff like that. And I hope he's doing as well as he can. He's going to need a lot of support, but very, very sad times. Not nice. 3 weeks into the year, we've already lost Jay Briscoe, or a wrestler. And yeah, just very, very sad at this time and stuff like that. It'll take time to sink in. And I'm sure there'll be more outpourings and stuff like that and support for the Briscoe family. We can only hope that his daughter hopefully makes a full recovery. Even though it's going to be very difficult as well for her when she gets the news if she does make a full recovery. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens and how it all evolves and when we get more information. But really, really sad at this time. 38 years of age, you know, so young, and you know, and they say the world is your oyster. What a performer and stuff like that. So thoughts and prayers go out to the Briscoe family, and we're thinking about you, Jay. Yeah, we will definitely miss you. And I'll be playing those matches in the shop this week as part of a tribute. We'll be going back through the years of Ring of Honor, and we'll be looking at all the Briscoe matches and stuff like that before I well up here. As always, if you could subscribe to Dynamos Dozen, the channel on YouTube, if you can smash a like on the video, of course, and also hit that bell notification for when we put up content and stuff like that. We will be back with you next week with the fallout from Raw 30, and we'll also be back with a Royal Rumble preview. But until next time, I have been your host and co-host, Niall Hogan, the shopkeeper. And as always, keep it real. As we say, you never know what's going to come next week with the way news comes and stuff like that. This was such a tragic surprise that caught us all off guard. How could you expect anything like this? But we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks for tuning in.